Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here. In this video we're talking about Nintendo Switch, DSi, and a game that wants to be torrented. Let's get started. Alright, we'll kick things off here with a series of Nintendo Switch emulation updates, and we'll start out with Yuzu. At the time of filming, mainline version 14.04 is the latest update. If you've got an Intel or an AMD GPU and you play Breath of the Wild, you might like this one. There's a workaround here for Breath of the Wild when the surface would be covered with black lines completely randomly, and you shouldn't get that now. Moving on, and we're still talking about Switch emulation, but switching over to Ryujinx, and Ryujinx got a series of updates. I mean, I'm not joking with you here, the development team has been extremely busy. At the time of filming, they're on version 1.1.720. And today Ryujinx got a whole bunch of updates, a number of them, and even yesterday. And we got a brand new feature. In my opinion, this is a pretty big quality of life improvement and really cleans things up. It adds the ability to hide file types in the game list. You can now choose which file types will appear on the games list under Options and Show File Types. And in addition to that, they've added a network interface dropdown, so it adds a setting to allow choosing the network interface used for LAN games. It's already in the LDN builds, but now it's in the mainline build. To this day, I still get asked, what Switch emulator should you use on PC, Ryujinx or Yuzu? And to this day, my answer is the exact same. Use both. They're both free and both open source. Both emulators will perform a little bit different with different games on different systems, so you'll have to tinker around and find out what works for you. But when it comes to Switch emulation on Android, the only emulator I recommend is Skyline, and it also got a brand new update. So we've got two new versions of Skyline, the mainline build 2419, which brings about some older edge changes and also updates Hades. On top of that, it fixes some graphics in OpenGL games and also fixes some graphics in Pokemon Arceus and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And the paid testing early access version of Skyline, Skyline Edge, also got a brand new update. Edge version 65 just released, and this one re-implements the memory manager, which should help reducing stutters and allowing some games to go even further in game. So on the latest mainline build, which is 2419, someone with a Mali GPU has Hades up and running and looking great. They say there are FPS drops and the game dies if you die. But the animations are now fixed, and you can actually see the characters a little better. And here's someone running Dragon's Dogma at a locked 30 frames per second, even with changing scenes. This is on a Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, so a powerhouse of a phone here. And this is the latest version of Edge, at least I think so, 64.2. Well, if it's 64 or 65, this is impressive. They do say here though that it does drop between 23 to 24 frames per second on some intense battles. Snapdragon processors with Adreno GPUs are still the way to go if you're looking at emulating on an Android device. But it's nice to see that Mali is seeing some great improvements. And speaking about improvements, next up, and this is huge, we're talking about RetroAchievments. Today RetroAchievments announced that Nintendo DSi is now a supported platform. This is amazing, but there is one downside. There is only one supported emulator that works with it, and that is BizHawk. We've talked about BizHawk a few times on this channel, but for those who may not be aware, BizHawk stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano. It's a free and open source multi-system emulator that's mainly used for tool-assisted speedruns. It is easy enough to use for the average user, and it supports a whole bunch of platforms here, and it is only available for PC, so Windows and Linux. If you are curious about it, I'll drop a link to it in the description below. Feel free to check it out. And last up here, we're talking about a pretty weird situation with Darker and Darker. For those who may not be aware, Darker or Darker is a game that hasn't released yet and may never actually release. There's a whole bunch of controversy surrounding ownership of this and assets and copyright, and it's a complete mess. I'll leave a link to this article in the description below in the event that you want to read more about it. But anyways, here this game was not allowed to be released, and they did kind of release it, but in a very unconventional way. They released it over torrent. It's an early playtest and they wanted feedback, and they decided to do that by having users torrent it and try it out that way. In my opinion, this whole situation is super crazy and absolutely weird. The game has been banned from Steam, and well, it continues to continue on here. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos, don't tempt fate, save your state.